Hello and welcome to Playback, Tier 2 World's weekly showcase of our best stories from around the globe. Coming up, we take a look at what could be in store for Afghans under the Taliban rule after the group seized control of the country. Why Iranians fear a new bill will restrict the use of the internet even further. Singapore comes up with a high-tech solution to water shortages. And finally, hikers from across the Balkans set up camp to watch the Perseid meteor shower light up the skies. The U.S. first invaded Afghanistan in 2001 in the wake of the September 11 terror attacks, hoping to flush out and eliminate al-Qaeda. When the ruling Taliban refused to hand over the terror group, the U.S. removed it from power and installed a democratic government. 20 years later, American troops are finally pulling out, and the Taliban is back to fill the void they're leaving behind. Franco Ciardo has this report.
The U.S. military foreign troop agreement, negotiated during the Trump administration, required the Taliban to prevent terrorists from operating on Afghan soil and establish a peace deal with the Kabul government.
Do I trust the Taliban? No, but I trust the capacity of the Afghan military.
Journalist Jerry Van Dyke knows better than to trust the Taliban after being taken hostage by them.
In the mountains in Pakistan in February 2008 that I was betrayed by my guides, captured by the Taliban, and held in the mountains for the next 6.5 weeks. They agreed with whomever was the chief negotiator or negotiators to not kill me. And so they kept their word, and I am here.
The Pulitzer-nominated author of 3 books on Afghanistan still communicates with the Taliban's inner circle and believes the U.S. troop withdrawal will not result in a terrorist attack on the U.S. by them.
The Taliban are not going to attack the United States. Will al-Qaeda or its enemy Daesh now be more able to attack the United States? The answer to your question is yes, very possibly. There are many different factions within the Taliban. The Afghani network, for example, the most powerful family of all, is not directly a part of the Taliban. Some people don't want violence, others do want violence. It's not a simple matter of negotiating with the president of a country.
What is the fate of women there?
More than anything else, already there are tragic stories. We know most recently of the attack on teenage girls at a Shia school in Afghanistan, simply targeting teenage girls. What I fear most of all is the gains made by women, particularly minority women, are going to be rolled back, and that is truly a tragedy.
Afghan civilians are facing a confluence of emergencies between the war, an out-of-control COVID-19 pandemic, and a recently declared drought.
Already during the first quarter of 2021, there's been a 29% increase in civilian casualties compared to the same period last year.
So if and when peace finally comes to Afghanistan, it's believed it will take decades for nation building and another generation to heal from the scars of war. Franco Ciardo, TRT World, the United Nations.
The return of Taliban rule is not only raising concerns of a full-blown humanitarian and refugee crisis, it's also sparking fears that the progress made over 20 years to improve the lives and rights of women could be wiped out overnight. The Taliban says it will give women the freedom to work and go to school. But as Leila Humeira reports, what's been happening on the ground is raising concerns.
Zarmeena Kakar was 1 when the Taliban entered Kabul for the first time in 1996. For the next 5 years, the group enforced its extreme interpretation of Islam, denying women education and the right to work. As a child, Kakar witnessed her mother being whipped for revealing her face in public. But she considers herself fortunate to be part of a generation that was eventually allowed to go to school and join the workforce once the Taliban was forced from power. 20 years later, and the militant group has returned, Kakar says the fragile freedom Afghan women have had is over.
I feel like we're birds who make nests for a living and spend all their time building them, but then suddenly and helplessly watch others destroy them, and then everything vanishes. I have a bad feeling, and it's the same feeling that other women have.
At the end of the Taliban's rule in 2001, the World Bank says women's participation in the labor force was 15%, one of the lowest rates in the world. The figure increased to 22% in 2020, but analysts fear the gains made to get more women contributing to the economy will be reversed. And the progress that sent more than 3 million girls to schools and universities in the past 20 years could face the same fate. The Taliban has pledged to maintain women's rights, but repression has been reported as it's made its advance across Afghanistan. There have been reports of girls being taken away from their families and schools set on fire. Young women have also reportedly forged marriage certificates to avoid being forced to wed Taliban fighters. And female employees at banks seized by the group have been told to go home and stay home.
Majority of the Afghan women, they don't have reliable source of income. Majority of them have some sort of work going on for them, and some of them have lost their husbands in war, either in the army side or the Taliban side, and they work.
The UN says 80% of Afghans who fled the country since May are women and children. And with the Taliban's return to power likely to set women's rights back decades, humanitarian groups say it could spell disaster for those who stay. Laila Humaira, TRT World.
Iran's parliament is reviewing a controversial bill that could further restrict the use of the internet. Lawmakers say the legislation aims to protect users and their rights. And although the exact terms of the bill remain unclear, many users are anxious their freedom of expression will be even more limited than it already is. Reza Hatami reports from Tehran.
Amir Hossein Namovar is an entrepreneur and financial market analyst. 18 months ago, he set up an Instagram page that offers online consultation on cryptocurrency. It's become a lucrative source of income. But he fears the new social media rules could be detrimental to his business and affect his livelihood.
My company has employed dozens of people via Instagram. By doing this, we have taken a burden off the government's shoulders. We started from scratch, created content, presented products, and offered various services. And now, just when we have reached a turning point, a point where we can get a return on our investment, there is talk of this new legislation and the reduction of the bandwidth.
As the COVID-19 pandemic ravages the country, more people like Namovar are looking to social media to earn a living. By one estimation, about 200,000 businesses in Iran have moved online over the past year, and a lot of local trading relies heavily on Instagram. With millions of users, it's the country's most popular social media platform. It's also one of the few Western apps not banned. The bill would require major foreign tech giants to register with the government and comply with its oversight and data protection rules. And if passed by the conservative parliament, it would limit access to information in a country where services like Facebook, Twitter and YouTube are already banned. But some IT experts say cyberspace regulations may be helpful to businesses as they promote transparency.
There's a lot of indecisiveness regarding social media. Anyone can create an identity and run a business. Generally, controls can be beneficial, but what happens in practice is not clear to me, and only time will tell how this law will be implemented. But I believe all of us agree that precise laws are a necessity for the country's economic development.
The bill has been postponed several times, suggesting officials are cautious about the possible impact of restrictions on the economy. Already 900,000 people have signed a petition opposing the bill, and Iran's largest digital companies say any new restrictive legislation will do more damage to local businesses already crippled by massive sanctions. Reza Hatami, TRT World, Tehran.
In the tiny Southeast Asian country of Singapore, natural water resources are scarce and the demand is high. But the government has now come up with a high-tech solution to provide clean water. Iram Koja reports.
As the climate crisis drains away the sources of clean water, a single drop may soon become more valuable than ever. And Singapore knows this all too well. The island nation of 5.7 million has long relied on neighbouring Malaysia for drinking water. But the government has now developed a system to treat sewage water through a network of tunnels and high-tech plants.
So Singapore lacks natural resources and is limited in space, which is why we are always looking for ways to explore water sources and stretch our water supplies.
Sewage is pumped from underground and purified. It's then sent above ground, where the remaining bacteria are filtered out through ultraviolet rays. The government says the recycled water has passed more than 150,000 scientific tests, and its quality meets the World Health Organization's guidelines.
Our water management strategy consists of 3 parts. First is collect every drop of water. 2, reuse endlessly. And thirdly is to turn seawater into drinking water, which is desalinations.
The United Nations estimates that 80% of the world's wastewater is dumped back out to the ecosystem untreated. But these facilities not only make sewage suitable for human consumption, they also help rid the ocean of pollution, while releasing only a small amount of waste back out to sea. They currently treat up to 900 million litres of wastewater a day, which meets 40% of the country's demand. Singapore says it hopes to increase that to 55% over the next few decades and maintain a clean and sustainable supply of water for generations to come. Iram Koja, TRT World.
Mangrove forests are crucial to maintaining healthy coastlines, but they've become one of the most threatened habitats in the world. By some estimates, more than half of the planet's mangroves have been destroyed to make way for development and farms or to produce timber or charcoal. But as Shoaib Hassan reports, restoring them can have a big impact, not just on the environment, but on local communities as well.
Oyster farmer Marianne Dong says her business is the best it's been in years. She also still has a home because mangrove forests have been restored in the Fatik region in southwestern Senegal.
Reforestation is very important. The sea today hasn't taken our village thanks to reforestation. If nothing had been done, the sea would have destroyed the village. When you reforest, you see the mud in the mangrove. The mud reduces the force of the sea. The sea can no longer batter the village.
Mangrove forests are essential for preventing soil erosion. They also hold back rising sea levels and provide a home for rich marine ecosystems. In the past 25 years, Africa has lost nearly 500 square kilometers of its mangroves due to drought, deforestation and construction. Those losses include up to 40% of the mangroves in Fatik. But now they're back, with help from the UN's Agriculture Development Agency.
It's really important to reforest areas around Senegal with mangroves because mangroves really provide the last bastion of resilience in countries such as Senegal. Deforestation, road construction and other areas have led to the denudation of these kind of forested areas that have essentially meant that incomes have been lost by vulnerable communities.
Reforestation has meant a bigger catch for Marianne and other Fatik residents. The project has also helped them learn new production techniques.
Now we take the oysters, we put them to boil and dry. By processing them, we see that we earn much more, because a tub full of dried oysters doesn't make you much profit. If you transform and put them in the jars, you earn a lot more.
The restoration of the mangroves has helped this community get back on its feet, and the UN hopes to replicate its success in other parts of Africa. Shoaib Hassan, TRT World.
For centuries, a rare and unique breed of the bird, the Ayam Jamani chicken, has been raised in Indonesia. It's considered the most magnificent breed of poultry in the world. And as Kubra Akkoch reports, it comes at a hefty price.
This is a fine-looking chicken like no other. Its feathers are pitch black, along with its flesh. In fact, every bit of the bird, including its bones and internal organs, are the color of licorice. The Ayam Jamani chicken is a rare breed from Indonesia. Thought to have magical powers, it's much sought after in other countries including Turkey, the US, Italy and Malaysia.
I sell at least around 30 ayam samani chicks a month. The chicks are between 2 to 3 months old. We sell a pair of chicks with the black tongue for $100 and $27 for the gray tongue.
But a fully grown pair could set you back $5,000, making it the most expensive chicken in the world. That's why they are a status symbol for the upper class in Indonesia. They are a result of crossbreeding domestic chickens and green jungle fowl, and have been farmed on the Indonesian island of Java since the 12th century. The main reason behind their hefty price tag is indeed their color, but also their blood is used in traditional medicine.
Because of the all-black color, the ayam samani chicken seemed mystical and was often used for rituals.
And as the popularity of this chic chicken grows, Tamudi and other local farmers are hoping to attract more international customers. Kübra Akkoç, TRT World.
They're cheaper than cars, easier to park, and perfect for social distancing. More and more Americans are changing gears, switching to motorcycles for both pleasure and practicality. Bike sales are up, and training schools around the country are reporting an increased demand for lessons. Kyoko Gasha visits one center in New York City to find out what's driving interest.
Line up behind each other, wait till we send you out.
What's the attraction? Is it the sound, the speed, or the solitude? With social distancing measures in place to curb the spread of COVID-19, many people have decided to become motorcycle riders.
I've always wanted to learn how to ride. Yeah, the pandemic just I'd avoid public transportation. So of course, if I can avoid public transportation and take a bike, I'm gonna go for the bike.
It's easier to ride the motorcycle to get around than the car, because you have to wait more, parking is harder.
My partner already has a motorcycle. I am in transition to get one. My brothers are also doing it, so it's more of trying to connect in a different way with my family.
Press right, lean right.
These students are among hundreds of thousands of Americans who are taking up biking.
The number of wannabe riders has revved up during the pandemic. According to the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, enrollment in training courses in some U.S. cities doubled last year, and that interest has continued into 2021, with many schools booked up months in advance.
Demand was high at the center before the pandemic, but now waiting lists have grown even longer.
Enrollment went up because of the pandemic, because people were looking for ways to commute and travel without being in crowds, so they want to be socially distanced. And also a lot of people took up motorcycle riding because they wanted to find ways to have fun, like recreation, also being outside.
This accelerated interest is good news for bike manufacturers. According to the Motorcycle Industry Council, sales of bikes and scooters rose more than 11% in 2020 compared to 2019, and that trend looks set to continue. It says in the first quarter of 2021, new model motorcycle sales among leading brands increased more than 37%. Dirt, trail, and dual-purpose bikes are the best sellers.
People want to learn beyond just the basic dirt bike school class. They want to learn how to take their adventure bikes, which are also dual-purpose, out on the streets and then riding on the trails.
The price point is another attraction. Motorcycles are cheaper than cars, and insurance and maintenance fees are lower. A new dirt bike can cost as little as $2,000 compared to $38,000 for an entry-level vehicle off the floor of a dealership, according to valuation firm Kelley Blue Book. Gil Fernandez purchased a brand new bike 4 months ago.
The bike alone was $7,600 and my gear was about $5,000.
As the Delta variant spreads, he's hoping the investment will pay off, saving him time, money, and guaranteeing him a social distanced commute. Kyoko Gasha, TLT World, New York.
Greece has battled hundreds of wildfires this month and experienced its most severe heat wave in decades. But what do you do if you live in a wildfire-prone area but have no fire department? As Ali Mustafa reports from Greece's fire-ravaged Peloponnese Peninsula, you don't have to look far for help.
They're the first line of defense in one of Greece's most isolated regions. Secretary Georgia her trucker husband Kostas, Ertan and Dimitri are volunteer first responders on the Peloponnese Peninsula.
We have a total of 9 vehicles, including an ambulance as well as a boat. We started this group in the year 2000 and joined Greek Civil Protection 8 years later. We are all cave explorers, so we had the opportunity to carry out mountain rescues and wildfire control, as well as respond to other emergencies.
As wildfires spread this month in southern Greece, ravaging parts of the Peloponnese Peninsula, the volunteers sprang into action. They cleared lines of shrubs surrounding the fires to stop the flames and helped evacuate people.
One reason why Costa's team of volunteers has been so active lately is because this particular region of Peloponnese, called Mani, has no fire stations or hospitals 45 kilometers that way or that way towards Kalamata, making Costa's team the primary responders in any emergency in these areas.
Dimitris Bouris, a sound engineer by profession, takes us through how to prepare to combat wildfires. Oxygen cylinders and helmets are important. This critical equipment was bought with donations from Austria, Germany, and the local community.
This feeling of love is very strong, but the pleasure of helping others is stronger.
All these volunteers have their own profession, but they've also found a singular calling. Ali Mustafa, TRT World, in Mani, Greece.
Every year in mid-August, the Perseid meteor showers animate the night skies with a dazzling display. National parks and mountains offer great spots for viewing, and hikers in the Balkans go to great lengths to enjoy it. Abdulwahab Ayyubi has the story.
The annual Perseids meteor showers are popular among stargazers as they can be seen with the naked eye. And hikers from across the Balkans set up camp all the way up a Bosnian mountain to watch the spectacle away from the city lights.
During this astronomical event of Perseid meteor shower, we are organizing every year this type of hiking tours, which are very, very interesting for all hikers because of this unusual type of hiking during the night with head lights and so on. So every year we change those locations.
According to NASA, the Perseid meteors are debris left behind by the swift Tuttle comet and appear as shooting stars as the Earth passes close to the comet's path. Hikers say gazing at the astronomical display was an experience of a lifetime.
I came from Slovenia and I'm here with the hikers to watch the Persian shower. I really enjoy it and it's really nice evening.
It's beautiful, the view is unbelievable. We're really hoping to see some other stars, even though we've already seen a bunch of them, but it's really amazing.
Scientists say the widely enjoyed Twinkle Twinkle Little Stars are best viewed from the northern hemisphere, if the weather permits. Abdulwahab Ayyubi, TRT World.
Well, that rounds up your week of news here on Playback. We'll leave you with these pictures of a series of new art by British street artist Banksy. They have popped up in several seaside towns in the UK. Stay tuned to TRT World for the latest stories.